I want to call this Rules February 27th meeting to order. Melvina, would you give invocation, please?
I det datorlista. Ordigalande hej, ojali heliga han kostes kiati no. Livna det dosta heldi do hest hando gilastane he. Ni huiski on he do hest no les good les do hest can ye nikas nida ho. Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for bringing us back together again. Just be with us throughout this meeting. Just give us wisdom and knowledge for the betterment of Turkey Nation and protect us, Lord, for all harm's way. Just be with us and guide us. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, Shelley, would you conduct roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Johnny Kidwell.
Here.
Sasha Black Fox Qualls. Here. Danny Callison. Here. Julia Coates. Joe Deere. Mike Dobbins. Here. Kevin Easley.
Here.
Lisa Hall. Here. Daryl Legg. Here. Kendra McGady. Here. Dora Petzkowski. Yes. Cody Poindexter.
Honey.
Joshua Sam. Here. Melvina Shotpouch. E.O. Smith. Here. Kendessa Teehee. We have a quorum.
If you had a chance to look over the January 30th regular session meetings, could I have a motion to approve? We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, reports. First up from the Marshal Service, Marshal Daniel Meade.
Sorry. Like I said last time, I know the norm is to come up and you got my reports, any questions, but I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come up here once a month and to brag about my departments. My guys, you guys have, Cherokee Nation has such an amazing group of men and women serving in every aspect of the tribe, and to get to stand in front of this council and to brag about them is something that I get to look forward to. Saying that, also, I want to just kind of give an update of that. First off, I got to make a correction to Scott Otten and his team. He's evaluation and compliance. Last month, I called them the wrong department. So I apologize to the council, and I apologize to the team that if they're watching or if they're listening, that they are eval and compliance. And Samantha Hendricks, Josh Buck, they've been so amazing, and I'm kind of missing them. We were meeting 2 and 3 times a week, but they've set me on a course to succeed, and they've always had my back, and they're not leading me astray. So it's good to see Ms. Hendricks today, because it's been about 4 days since I've actually seen her, maybe 5, but you've seen her 2 and 3 times a week, going to once a week, once every other week, kind of is a good thing, but it's not, because you get used to these relationships that you're building. I know I'm kind of rambling on, and this is something I got in a head-on collision Saturday, and my son was 13. My son's 13, and he was in the back seat. And I'm not telling you the story to go, oh man, you were in a head-on collision. It's that it knocked me out. And my son goes, I'm okay. He hops out and he calls 911. And he goes, Dad, are you okay? And I was like, give me a second, kid. And he kept saying, Dad, are you okay? And I said, Dad, give me a second. I've got to soak this in. I can't move. Let me just, and he's like, my dad's trapped. And he was on the phone with 911. I was like, I'm not trapped. I'm just old. I got to pump myself up to move. I just got hit. But he kept his calm, kept his cool. And I went and gave him a hug afterward, kissed him on his head. He's 13. He's just sitting there shaking the adrenaline, just that shock of getting in a wreck. And it was a gnarly wreck. And I've been calling him Hero ever since. He kept his calm, and he did what he was supposed to do. And me and Ms. Hendricks were talking about this a little earlier, is that, this is a great responsibility to get in front of you guys, and the camera that, is being broadcasted around the world to Cherokees wanting to know what's going on, and it is kind of nerve-wracking. But if my son can see, and my nose was bleeding pretty bad, the side of my head was all, my left side's pretty gnarled up. And I got an eye twitch, a recent eye twitch since Saturday. So, but he saw that with his dad knocked out and bleeding and stuff, and he kept his calm. So I'm trying to draw on my son's energy and to be able just to brag to you guys, not just about my department, but about my son and what he did for me Saturday. Like I said, I called him hero. I've been calling him hero ever since. Let's see. I'm gonna tell you, I love this job, guys. I love this job. And you hear people say that, and you're like, whatever. I mean, I love being a marshal. I did it for 18 years. But then I get put in this position, and it consumes you. Day, night, your phone rings, emails, text messages. You guys get that. You guys understand it. But sometimes it might fall on deaf ears when you're like, I love this job. No. I love it. And sometimes I get mad on Fridays. I'm like, I got so much to do, and it's the weekend. You know, and I'm telling you, I'm 45, and I thought I'd never say that. And I just love this job. I know it's not always going to be sunshines and roses because I've been getting gray hairs, man, I tell you that. But I truly love this job. I have big plans. I'm putting them in motion. Some things are happening faster than others, and some things are happening a lot slower than others. But we got it in the right spot, and I thank you guys for this opportunity to do it. And with that, do you guys have any questions for me or what I can either look into or maybe address for you guys?
Councilman Callison.
Daniel, I just, on your report, I really enjoyed the emergency management follow-up that you had through there. That way we can kind of get an idea of what's happening with them and where they're going with it and how much they're actually having to do. So thank you
Yes.
very much for that.
Oh, no problem.
I appreciate that.
REM is stepping up and doing a lot of things. And as we know, tornado season is about to happen, so they're about to be a lot busier. Yeah.
Anybody else? Lisa?
I just have a comment. I just want to say thank you for our veteran and first language speaker, John Stay at Home, for you all doing the escort from the funeral home at Tahlequah to the Fort Gibson National Cemetery. I know you're all very busy, but you always put your veterans first, and I just want to say thank you to Marshal Cunningham and you both. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Sasha?
Thank you, Speaker. Along the same lines as Council Lady Hall, I want to thank you and Captain Rainwater and his team. One of my K-8 schools at Shady Grove made it to state.
Oh, awesome.
And they provided an escort for the students from the school through the county. And I'm telling you, it was the highlight for them. They absolutely loved it. They were living big that day. So it was such a treat for them, and I'm very appreciative.
Oh, thank you.
So please let them know. Thank you.
I definitely will.
Thank you, Speaker.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Marshall.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up from the Office of the Attorney General, Chad Harsha.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, members of the
Afternoon.
council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. A couple items I'd like to highlight. I mentioned both of these last month. First being the litigation that we've engaged in against two district attorneys in Rogers County and one in the Eastern District of Oklahoma, Matt Ballard and Carol Iskey. That litigation is moving forward. We're moving pretty heavily into an initial briefing schedule, and we filed our motion to intervene in that case. Still waiting to see how the court rules on that, but can report that the United States came in, filed a motion in support of our motion to intervene, which is all part of the procedural process of getting this case to a decision point. So happy to report that we're continuing to engage in that litigation with our tribal partners at the Chickasaw Nation and Choctaw Nation, and look forward to getting further along those motions decided and into the merits of the case. The other item I would highlight, as I mentioned last month, is the recent M opinion regarding UKB land and trust acquisitions. That effort is moving along well on my end, and certainly has been a significant and primary focus for my office since we had last met. With that, we continue to do the work that we normally do in criminal matters and other litigation that we have across various areas of the Attorney General's office. And then with the added uptick of work that comes along with our election season. I know that we're all familiar with this as it comes along every 2 years, and working with the Election Commission and Marshall Meade to resolve those questions and concerns as they arise is also of paramount importance to the AG's office. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd love to take them.
Is there any questions for our Attorney General? Danny?
AG Harsh, have we got any word on the opinion that was issued on the Katua situation?
So I'd appreciate maybe having that conversation with you offline if you don't mind. It is something that we've been worked on and heavily engaged in, certainly since we met last and since the opinion came out. Yeah.
Councilman Petskowski?
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Just like to say thank you. Got a lot of fingers out there doing a lot of different things, and hey, the attack on our sovereignty is real. It happens all the time. And certainly, we appreciate what you do in protecting that. So
Thank you.
we just like to say thank you. I know you work hard at it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, next up from FOIA and GRA, Gwen Terrapin.
Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone today. My apologies for missing the meeting last month. The sickness going around hit everybody. You should have a copy of my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Gwen? I see none. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, next up from the Tax Commission, Sharon Swepston.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You'll have to excuse my voice, I'm sorry. I've still got a cough, so there's a reason for the mask. Don't want to make anyone else sick. You do have my report, just a couple of highlights. Through December, we were 4.71% more than what we were that time last year for motor vehicles, so that's good. We're finally making a little bit of growing leap there. And then on revenue and taxation, we're about 7% less, and that is like retail sales, cigarettes, tobacco, and all of that. But if you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions for Sharon? All right, Sharon, I see none. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, next up from the Gaming Commission, Audra Imhoff.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You should have my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I did want to point out a couple of things on it. Our next commission meeting is scheduled for Friday, March 7th in Tahlequah. And the other item I wanted to mention is that the NIGC requires an external audit be completed annually to review audits that are completed by our audit department. And I am happy to report that we had no findings and we had no issues of noncompliance.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Condessa.
Just real quick one. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. What time does that meeting begin on Friday, March 7th?
At 9:30.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, and last, we have from Human Resources, Samantha Hendricks.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. You have my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I do have two things that I wanted to share. One is give an update on our summer internship. Very excited about that program. It's been very successful. Last year in the summer of 2024, we had approximately 40 interns within Cherokee Nation. We hired 11 of those interns as full-time employees, so pretty excited about that piece. This year, we have 81 that have applied for our internships so far. We're still in the process of receiving applications and selections. We're on target to hire anywhere from 25 to 30 of those interns. So very excited about the program. It seems to be really working well for the second year also. In addition to that, I did want to mention an added piece to our recruitment efforts. We have added to our job postings. It's called bookings. So if on a job posting, if somebody is interested in talking directly to a recruiter in reference to the particular position, they can schedule some time with the recruiter to talk with them on their calendar. So it's kind of a self-help thing where they can click on it, schedule it, and talk directly with the recruiter about the position itself or any other positions. So it's just one more avenue to have the applicants reach out to us we're doing a lot of outreach too, but it just gives them one more avenue to do that. So other than that, you have my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Does anybody have any questions for Samantha? Condessa?
Just real quickly, I wanted to touch base with you after the meeting's
Okay.
over about the issue we'd been talking about.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Sasha?
Just curious, on the application process, whenever someone applies, is that reviewed by your team individually, or do we utilize like an ATS process?
We do both. So there is a set of questions that qualify them for positions. But now I also have to say that applicants or our recruiters review and all their requirements to qualify them for the position.
That helps, because I was thinking, that's beneficial in some positions, but it removes factor, that human. So that helps kind of narrow down the utilization of keywords for those applicants, and if that's something that we can kind of help whenever we get those questions to help guide them.
And just as a little reminder, on the back side of my report, I do have a website where you can actually apply for jobs. So hopefully it's helpful too.
Thank you.
So,
Anybody else? Okay, thank you,
okay.
Samantha.
Thank you.
Old business, none pending. New business. Number one, Councilman Kidwell, would you take that, please?
Happy to. This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Amy Page as Justice of the Cherokee Nation Supreme Court, and I move for its approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All right, Judge Page, how are you today? It's good to have you.
And I know I've got some big shoes to fill, both historically and in the immediate past, with Justice Baker leaving the court. I believe that council members have been provided with my resume and CV. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about myself or my experience, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today and address you.
Does anybody have any questions for Judge Page? Doc?
Yes, Justice, are you have a position within our legal system now, in the court system now?
Yes, sir. I'm an associate district court judge under Judge Bartow,
Okay,
and I handle several dockets a week, including the criminal disposition dockets, the arraignment docket, traffic tickets. I do the domestic violence review court. I used to do protective orders. I have a caseload that includes ICWA cases, adoptions, guardianships, and then special settings, which might be custody matters or other civil matters.
where do you reside?
I reside in Tulsa.
In Tulsa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's not a problem, I guess, going back and forth for you to get here and,
No, sir. I've been doing it since 2021.
okay, all right.
Happy to be in Tahlequah whenever I can.
Okay. So do you vote in our Cherokee elections?
I do, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike.
Anybody else? Deputy?
Yeah, I'll say, I don't have any questions for Judge Page. I will say, I know we all have her resume and CV. I had the opportunity to actually practice in Judge Page's courtroom prior to being on council. And the reason why I'm supporting her and I am sponsoring this legislation is my experience in her courtroom was she was a very good judge. She always respected both sides in her courtroom. Everybody that was in there received respect from her. She heard everyone out. Everybody's argument she would listen to. She would reach a decision, and she told you why she got there. And she didn't make quick or rash decisions. And that's about the best that you can ask for in a judge, is to listen to everyone and explain why you got to where you did. And often judges, it is a very lonely job to be a judge, to wear that black robe. because you have to be as impartial as possible. And there are a lot of decisions that they make and decisions that they don't make that keep them up at night. And they don't have a lot of people to turn to talk about those decisions because of the confidentiality issues that they have. I believe that she always did a great job, even cases that I was not a part of, but watched her in the courtroom handling those kind of decisions. And the biggest thing for me is when you're putting someone in a position as high as Supreme Court, which is the highest office that, essentially we could put someone in. They're interpreting our laws. And in a way, when they interpret them, they can set laws because of those interpretations. You never want somebody who's going to let the robe go to their head. And that can happen with judges. We all know it. Lawyers that are sitting in here, we can think of some in our head now, I'm sure. And Judge Page that has never been an issue. And I know it won't be in the future, so I support her strongly in this and would ask that council do also.
Julia.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Judge, or afternoon, I guess, for you, Judge Page. And,
Good afternoon.
You said you came onto the court in 2021, and I do recall, affirming your nomination at that time. And your background is predominantly in child welfare kinds of issues or civil types of law, I think. And I know that after 2021 and the McGirt decision the year before that, I imagine for all of you, it kind of became trial by fire a little bit in terms of now dealing with criminal law as well. And you say you handle the criminal docket. Can you just talk a little bit about what that experience has been like? And, for you in terms of having to, I know you've had criminal exposure with criminal law, but to really kind of develop a greater expertise in it than you probably were used to practicing in previously.
Yes, ma'am, I'd be happy to talk about that. My first initial experience with criminal law was when I interned at the Public Defender's Office way back in, I'm embarrassed to say, the year 2000. I did just enough to know that wasn't where my heart and my passion lay, but it did give me a good viewpoint of how the state criminal justice system worked, areas where it woefully falls short of its promises and guarantees, and to kind of have an idea of how things could do better for the people on both sides of that, the victims as well as those accused of crimes. Coming here was such a great opportunity. It was a great time of turmoil. It was definitely, as you said, trial by fire for all of us on the bench at that time. What I have experienced, of course, having learned a lot more about criminal procedure both within our code and at the level of the federal rules of criminal procedure, which do govern a lot of our proceedings. Under Judge Bartow's leadership, we have been able to really craft a court, I think, that does a service for our citizens every day, that we can focus on issues that are unique to tribal members in their experience in our communities. And to be frank, not all of those experiences are good, and they come to us as they are, and we are able to see them that way and to know that there are ways that they can heal themselves that might not be made available to them in state court, or I would say even in federal court under a traditional system. I am very proud of our criminal court as it stands right now. And again, I'm not taking that credit on myself. It was definitely a team effort. But it has been such a pleasure to be on that docket and see that when given a chance and given resources, being offered help, most of our citizens are going to step forward and say, yes, I would like to change my life, but I need help. And to know that we have the support of administration, we have the support of the council, we have all the different departments, so we can say not just go fix it yourself, but rather offer them a real life solution to go get some therapy, go get some domestic violence services, go get some drug and alcohol treatment. And it's just been such an honor and a privilege to see the changes people have been able to make. So that's something, honestly, I will miss, is being able to see that in real time. It's been a great pleasure to work with the bar, both on the defense side and through Attorney General Harshaw's office. We have attorneys practicing in our courts, whether criminal or civil, that I feel confident could practice in any court in this nation with pride. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be part of that bar and work with them as well. I've had the privilege of working with Sandy Crossland in her role at the Attorney General's office. I'm sure some of you know former Judge Crossland, and she was such a great partner working to set up some of our processes and help us get through this transition. And I think this train is not turning around anytime soon. I think what we have here, we can stand up tall and hold our heads up that we are delivering on the promises in our Constitution for the members of our nation and for other tribal members. I hope that answered your question, Council Member.
It does. Thank you very much. So you are seeing criminal cases coming in front of you at the district level right now, and as I understand it, any of those that may be appealed would go up to the position that you're going to be moving into on the Supreme Court.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. Condesa?
I am in full support of the nomination of Amy Page to the Supreme Court, and I would just like to be added as a sponsor.
Anybody else? I would just like to say, echo some of Deputy's words. Being a judge is difficult in that it is a kind of a lonely at the top, so to speak. I remember I was a bailiff for a while for a district judge and a special judge, and I remember, in those jury trials or whenever there was some type of hearing, pulling all the law books and him having to sit there and read the law and then having to take what this attorney said and this attorney said, and oftentimes it was polar opposite how they viewed the law, and a lot of times what the judge ruled on is a little bit different than both of them thought it. They wanted to mold it how they thought it was. So, that is a big, big job. But the one thing I will say, word of mouth, when I talk to different law enforcement people, you're respected. And they say you're fair. And, I might be a little biased in that sense, but to listen to that. But I think that's very important to be viewed that way as fair. Especially as a judge, because like Deputy said, sometimes there's some of them, they, you get out of line at all and they, smash your hand with the gavel. I mean, it's just, they're very, very difficult to work with, but it's good to hear those good things about you like that. I think that's important, and that's the reason why I am supporting you. I think that's a great compliment from the people who work with you and stand in front of you.
Thank you, Council Member, and that's unofficially known as black robe fever. Mr. Easley can back me up.
Anybody else?
I've had 6 times.
All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Supreme Court Justice Page.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you all for your support.
All right, thank you. All right, moving down to number 2. Condesa, did you want to?
Yes, I'm asking that we submit a revised resolution for number 2. The revised resolution should read, this is a resolution confirming the Tribal Council reappointment of Cheryl Roundtree as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Sequoia High School Board of Education. And I put that forward for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Let's hear your spiel. Tell us about yourself and tell us about your experience.
Okay.
I'll make it easier. Let's go that way.
I am so nervous. I told Condesa and I told Mike, I get so nervous when I come here. I don't even know why. It's crazy.
It's so formal. It seems like it's really formal, though.
Well,
and just relax. Hey.
I've spoken to tons of, I mean, huge groups of people, but I get so nervous when I come out here. It's just odd. Anyway, I'm Cheryl Roundtree, and I've been an educator for 36 years, and I loved every minute of it. Mr. New sheriff man, Daniel, I love him. I knew him when he was young, and I just tried to speak life into him as much as possible. Oh, I was crazy about him. And as many kids that I've been blessed and had the opportunity to touch their lives. And I was a teacher and a counselor in the fields. I was in the junior high as a counselor, and boy, those were glorious years. And then I stepped over to the dark side and became superintendent. And that's what I always call it, when you step over into admin, it's always different because, you're on the outside now and trying to make everything go. And I felt blessed. Every day I just thank God for a great job. That's the best. And I I've taught at Northeastern. I've taught workshops all over the state of Oklahoma, reading workshops. I just love it. I teach a Bible study at our church, and I'm married to Randy Roundtree, who was a K-8 superintendent for 25 years, and he is still involved in ORIS, which is at Shady Grove. We put on the big tournament last week, and I just feel blessed to be on the school board at Sequoia. I think that we are making huge, huge strides. We're coming back to what we were. We're going to be a strong house again, academically as well as, extracurricular, I guess I should say that. But I feel like that students that I know that are choosing to come to us again, and I love that. I love that we're going to be excellent. We are just, and we're there. I'm excited to see the future, and I'm so grateful that the chief is putting funds toward our young people who will be us in just a few years. It's hard to think that I'm not one of those kids again, but I still feel young at heart. I guess I'm still 30 in my mind, but I'm not. But I'm excited about the changes that we're making and the strides that we're making forward for our kids. Does anyone have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? I'll just tell you, I like your resume, and I like, how you speak. You're excited. You are excited.
I am.
And you bring a lot to the table, and that's the biggest reason why I'm sponsoring you today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Okay, let's vote. All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations.
Yay!
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you for supporting me in the past. I appreciate it so
Absolutely.
much. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Shelley, could you add me as a sponsor? Thank you.
All right, number 3, Deputy, would you take that, please?
It's a resolution confirming a tribal council appointment to fill a board member of the Cherokee Nation Historical Society Board of Directors. Put this in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And it's my understanding we have 2, so I will take nominations now to fill this position. It's like in the past, I've changed all this. It's no longer a race. We'll get everybody who's nominated and we'll vote, okay? And we'll have discussion, then we'll vote. We'll hear from the candidates. Candace.
I'd like to nominate Rebecca Nagel.
Second.
Darrell.
I'd like to nominate Mildred Schote Taylor.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. First up, it's my understanding that Rebecca Nagel is on virtual. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Tell us about yourself.
Oceanagan, Goheen, Daudo, Talek, Oklahoma, Janelle, Joplin, Missouri, Otesadola, Digugi, Gaelige, Michael, Sarah, Dundon, Ojdala, Ia, Mary, Betsy, Dundon. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Nagel. I live in Tahlequah, and I grew up around Joplin, Missouri. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And so I want to thank both Candace and Cody for the nomination. And sorry, I'm traveling this week, so I couldn't be there with you guys in person. But yeah, just a little bit about myself and my background. I am a journalist and a writer, and often my work covers history. And so recently, this past September, I published a book called By the Fire We Carry, The Generations Long Fight for Justice on Native Land. And the book really centered around the McGirt decision, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with. And so it actually told the story of that case from the original crime in 1999 through Patrick Murphy's death penalty appeals, and then how we finally got the Supreme Court case. But every other chapter was in the past, and so I did a lot of research really specifically about our removal. I'm a Ridge descendant, so I looked at the Ridge's decision to sign the Treaty of New Echota, and then I also did a lot of research around allotment and talked about that in the book too. And so I am familiar with using both, secondary sources or, books to do research, but I also am pretty familiar with primary sources, and specifically primary sources that are specific to Cherokee history. And so I got to know, those archives, whether it's, the ABCFM papers, or now it's so much easier because it's in published volumes, but like the Moravian documents and things like that. So I got to spend a lot of time in there. And the book has been nominated and has won some awards. So it's an exciting time to talk about it. Including there's an award from the Oklahoma Historical Society that is given every year to a book that covers Oklahoma history. So it got that award as well as some national ones. I also wrote and hosted 2 seasons of a podcast called This Land. That was a documentary podcast. The first season was also about McGirt, and the second season was about the Brackeen case. And so it was a deep investigative dive into basically how, bad actors were using these Native kids, one of whom was Cherokee and Navajo, to, try to dismantle tribal sovereignty. Some other experience that I have, so that's kind of, who I am, what I do now. I'm also, so in addition to being a writer and being a journalist, I'm also a research fellow currently at NYU Law School through a joint program that's a partnership between NYU and Yale called American Indian Sovereignty Project. And so I'm actually working on a collaborative essay series with some other Native historians, like Ned Blackhawk and Phil Deloria. So getting to exist in the realm of academia a little bit more right now, which is exciting. And some other experience that I have that's different than what I'm doing now, but I think is relevant. I'm really proud to say that I did the CLAMAT program through Cherokee Nation. By no means a speaker, but I am a second language learner, and through spending 2 years in the adult language immersion program, I obviously still have a lot to learn, as all of us second language learners do, but I do have that grounding in the language. I also have a background in nonprofit leadership, and so I've served on other boards and also have worked as an executive director of a small nonprofit. So I feel competent when it comes to that kind of organizational development stuff. And I also have some museum experience. And so I've worked on exhibitions I've shown work at the Baltimore Museum of Art and the National Museum of the American Indians. And then I've worked on exhibitions that were at the Maryland Historical Society and the Reginald F. Lewis Museum of African American History and Culture. So that's, my spiel. I'm really excited. I think it's just so important the way that we tell our stories and tell our history. I actually really think that for me, it kind of goes back to sovereignty. I think as Cherokee people, and I think just as Native people in general, a lot has been written about us. And I think it's really important that as Cherokee people, we tell our own stories. And I think this board and the role of, the New Heritage Center is really an important part of that. And so I would be honored to serve if you all choose me. Thank you for your time.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Nagel? don't see Julia either. Julia, did you have a question?
No, I don't at this time. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, yes, ma'am. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, our other nominee is Mildred Taylor. Come on up, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's an honor to be here. I was born and raised in the Dwight Mission community. I still live there. I have a serious interest in what happens to our historical sites, especially Dwight Mission. I've served on several boards. I've been the secretary of the Dwight Mission Cemetery Association for about 25 years. I'm president of the 14 Flags Heritage Club for about 20 years. I'm currently the state president of the Oklahoma Home and Community Education Group, which is an affiliate of Oklahoma State University's Extension Program. And I served during the 90s for about 10 years on the National Historic Trails Tiers Advisory Council with the National Park Service. I got interested in Cherokee history when my youngest son, when I was expecting him, and my new mother-in-law was taking me around to visit the extended family, and one of the uncles had a first edition autographed copy of Emmett Starr's History of the Cherokee Indians on the coffee table, and I found my family in it, and that's all it took. I was hooked. I've been fortunate enough to go back to the states that our tribe came from and walk on the ground that my ancestors, where their houses were, and I've gotten acquainted with people from the 9 states, and they helped me find those sites. And anyway, that's kind of, I'm a workhorse. I'm a professional volunteer. My hobbies are sewing, or quilting, cooking, and history. And I just give me a job and let me go to work. So.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Taylor? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Julia. Hold up. Don't go back yet.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
It's not a question, but
Okay.
it's just a comment here that I think we've got 2 really strong candidates here. And whoever prevails in the vote today, I really hope that we as a body and administration as well will keep the other one in mind for future nominations, because I'd love to see both of these folks on this board. Thank you very much.
Good words, Councilman. I agree 100%. I think we all do. Okay, we're going to do it like we always do it. We're going to do a roll call vote. I just believe in transparency, and I believe, I just believe that's the way it should be. So, Shelley, you will, EO.
Can we not say something about a candidate?
Absolutely, yeah. This is time for discussion.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm like Jude, I think both people are great. I mean, we're blessed to have people like that. But I've known Mildred Taylor almost all my life, and she's a great lady, but whatever she does, she jumps in there with both feet. She gets a title. She don't just wear that title. She pushes that title, and she goes with it. And she works hard. And, football's my thing. History is hers. And it's just her life. And she does a great job. And, like 32 years on the Trail of Tears. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's money out of her pocket and everything. I'm just saying. Both of them are great, but I'm very strong support of Mildred, and whatever she does, she jumps in there with both feet, and she would be a great one. Thank you.
All right, is anybody else? Darrell.
And also, she's also the current president of the Marble City Historical Society. And buddy, she makes a mean fried pie. Not trying to bribe anybody for a vote or nothing. No. But yeah, I agree, man. Whenever this nomination for this position come out, the first person I thought of was Mildred. And I didn't know anybody else was even going to be interested in it. But man, we have 2 great applicants, and definitely whoever doesn't prevail, I hope that they would consider doing it for the next position. So I'm just tickled to death that we have two great candidates.
Condesa.
I agree. We have two really wonderful candidates, and the board would be well-served with either of them. One thing I think that Rebecca did not mention was that this land podcast was bringing national attention to historical issues within Cherokee Nation, and it was also nominated for a Peabody Award, which is, I mean, a really, really stellar media. Just to be nominated for that award is just, a career achievement. And now she's gone on to have written a book that is very, very firmly grounded in Cherokee Nation history. I've known her for well over 10 years, and I've seen her commitment to Cherokee language, Cherokee history, and Cherokee culture, which is really the bedrock of the Cherokee National Historical Society. I was formerly the executive director of the Cherokee Heritage Center, and I had a number of interactions with the Cherokee National Historical Society Board. And I believe that Rebecca would be right at home on that board and would be able to hit the ground running, especially with her background of nonprofit experience, experience with museums, and deep grounding in making history relevant today for contemporary issues and for the people in our communities. Thank you for the time, Chair.
Anybody else?
Speaker, I have one more comment, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
go ahead.
Whenever we have nominations like this and they go to look it up to position, there's no information out there on our websites that says what these boards do, where do they meet, how often. And if we could get the ear of anybody that could maybe correct that for us in IT or whatever department, it would be great to have more informative stuff about these positions that we nominate folks for.
I think probably, one of the good way to do that would be whenever those things open up and they have job description of what is opening up. Put all that stuff in there, how much they meet, what they're required to do. I don't know personally if they don't do that. I haven't looked at it. So, but if it's not being done, it probably needs to be done so we'll have a better view of all of us have a better view of what's going on. Everything will be right there in front of everybody. So, yeah, good point. Anybody else? Okay. Like I said, we're going to do a roll call vote, and I'll tell you, I'll just say this. We do have two really good candidates, but I know in the near future, there's probably going to be some other things popping open too. So you never know what doors are going to open up. Just saying. This will be an interesting vote. Both great people. All right, Shelley, here we go. Let's do it. And just either say, Nagel or Taylor. One or the other. Let's go.
Mike Shambaugh,
Taylor.
Melvina Shot Pouch, E.O. Smith,
Taylor.
Condessa Teehee,
Nagel.
Sasha Black Fox Qualls,
Nagel,
Danny Callison,
Nagel.
Julia Coates,
Nagel.
Joe Deere,
Taylor.
Mike Dobbins, Kevin Easley,
Taylor.
Lisa Hall,
Taylor.
Johnny Kidwell,
Nagel.
Daryl Legg, Kendra McGady, Dora Petzkowski, Cody Poindexter,
Nagel.
Joshua Sam.
Nagel.
Wow. What do we got?
We have 8 Nagel and 9 Taylor.
Wow. Well, that is absolutely the closest vote since I've been on council in 7 years than I have ever seen for anything. And I think it is a testament to both candidates that they are very, very qualified, and we couldn't go wrong either way. But I would like to say congratulations to Mildred Taylor.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You want to say anything before you leave? Or are you good?
I'm good. I'll do everything that I know to do my best.
All right, well, we thank you. All right, and I'd just like to say to Rebecca Nagel, very, very qualified. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to second that with Ms. Nagel. She's obviously got a lot of passion and qualifications. There's bound to be a spot within the Cherokee Nation where we can utilize her gifts.
Absolutely, there will be. There will be. Speaker,
Yeah,
or Deputy Speaker.
I'd like to say that also. When I first heard her name, and I started doing my own research, I realized, I thought I'd heard that name somewhere, and I realized she's in like every podcast and book that I've read or listened to the last year. And Ms. Nagel has done a phenomenal job in the sovereignty fight and telling our history and story. I truly hope she continues to do that, and that we do find somewhere for her to continue to be a voice for our people and to serve. And thank you for coming here today. And great candidates, and look forward to working with both of you all.
Okay, let's move down to item number 4. Councilman Sam, would you take that, please?
Yes, this is a resolution authorizing an unlimited consent to suit for the lease agreement between Caterpillar Financial Services Corporation and the Cherokee Nation, and I put this in form of a motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Are there any announcements? Okay, the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, March 27th at 1 p.m. I need a motion to adjourn, please. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.